think?
I mean, I would have liked a bit more defense, but yes, it was entertaining for what it was. There's no doubt. It was nice that you guys had Colin Johnson on, and it was a big night for him. When you look at the statistics of his career, 3 seasons in, he's kind of gotten less and less run year over year throughout his brief time in the NFL so far. But last night, I mean, the Colin Johnsons of the world is what last night was about. The Brett Rippens of the world. That's what last night was about. And both guys showed up, showed out. I mean, on the kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, you had Khalil Herbert, who's a proven commodity as a runner in the NFL, and he's done it against great defenses in big moments. We know he's talented with the ball in his hands, so him dominating Houston's backups doesn't mean nearly as much, but it is like, oh, okay, that's the best player on the field right there. Look at him with the football. So at least it's a little proof of concept, I guess. But for Rippin, for Johnson, there's guys out there who were doing things that, especially for Johnson, now this will become an additional look from the Bears coaches. Not that he's going to break into the lineup unless a bunch of guys get hurt. He's not going to be a pass catcher for the Bears this season, but they at least now look at him and say, what can we do with him? Well, all right, so we've seen the frame and we've seen him on the practice field. He's had some moments. Now this is in game action against opponents. Oh, maybe there's a role for him. Can he be some, in this newly sort of revamped kickoff return unit? Can he be a guy out there? Can he be someone who's able to cover kickoffs? Can he be someone who can be on the punt team in some capacity? Let's look for a role because he's out here making plays.
I think the answer to that's yes. Why not? Yes.
I mean, we'll see. He'll get the opportunity. Richard Hightower will give him the opportunity, and he'll have to prove it. At 6'6", 225 or whatever, he probably not going to be a gunner on your punt coverage team, but can he be a protector, like your end or wing kind of position, and then go down there and tackle somebody? Maybe he's got zero interest in tackling. Who knows? But he'll
from
get
last
the
night, it seems like
opportunity.
he seems like he's into it.
Can he be Equanimeous St. Brown at the least?
Right. Can he be a guy who now is – so many of the receiver cores in recent years from the Bears have had a bunch of specialists. Now you got real pass catchers. You got real versatile playmakers outside. You're not going to need as many specialists, but it'll be nice to have an EQ-type guy. Equanimeous St. Brown, the thing he was best at, the thing the Bears utilized him at a high level, was to say, when that guy's out there, everybody knows he's not going to do anything but block, and they still can't get around him. Let's throw the bubble screen to his side. He's just going to mow people over. Can Colin Johnson be that? And then occasionally make a catch in a game here and there. That could be a role he carves out now.
When you're trying to handicap what would be who's going to be the backup quarterback, what does last night do for that, if anything?
Are we
doing
mushing Tyson Bagent in the face already?
We're doing it.
I think, I suppose in a similar fashion to the Colin Johnson conversation, because Brett Rippin has been on a bunch of rosters. He's a much more experienced pro quarterback than Tyson Bagent.
And he looks like it.
I mean, the mechanics of the position are what you hope for. Now, the physical attributes are going to have some limitations versus, the top players in the sport. But he's out there. I mean, his first series he was out there, I'm looking at him and jotting down a couple of notes like, all right, I like the pocket presence. Now, he played a bunch of ball. There's some corollaries between he and Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent didn't play college football at nearly as high a level as Brett Rippin did. Brett Rippin played at a Group of 5 program, played at Boise State. I was talking about this a little bit last night after the game was over.
His arm is better, though.
Well, sure. Yeah, and that's a part of the reason he was a higher level recruit. Yeah. He broke all of Kellen Moore's high school records in the state of Washington, and then he followed up to Boise State and broke a bunch of his passing records at Boise State as well. So he's an accomplished quarterback, but there are, for Brett Rippin, some physical limitations that make it a little bit difficult for him to stay in the lineup and sustain a certain level of success on the field. But seeing that last night and looking at the comfort he had out there under some level of duress, now it wasn't the duress of having Myles Garrett trying to take your head off or anything, but he climbed the pocket, he kept his eyes down the field, and there's a reason he wasn't here throughout the offseason. He was competing overseas somewhere and doing something, some league somewhere. So, I mean, he's played more recently than some of the other guys who were on the field with him, but he got the opportunity, got a bunch of reps, got a bunch of snaps, and frankly, most of the incompletions he had were still balls that hit the hands of the wide receiver. So he was very impressive.
I want to walk through your mind a little bit.
Okay.
I know it's a dangerous place.
It's big. It's cavernous.
I want to know as you're watching, as you're digesting what the new kickoff rules are, what are the things that you were like, I wonder if this happens. I wonder if this happens. What was happening while you were watching it take place?
I'm wondering how the coverage team, in a similar fashion to what on a standard defensive snap of football, how this new version of the kickoff cover team will try to overload certain areas of the kickoff coverage, because there are certain alignments that you have to be in by rule, and then of course you can't move prior to the snap. You got both guys, both sides 5 yards apart, foot's on the line, but then when the returner actually has the football or has an opportunity to field the ball, is there an opportunity, almost like a stunt in the front seven, to overload the kickoff coverage team where you
like
have
a trap play?
Exactly, where you have sort of
you pull somebody around.
Right, and a coffin corner sort of kick where Greg Coffin Corner Coleman, the old Minnesota Vikings punter, but you put the ball towards the corner near the end zone, you kick it within the green zone between the 0 and the 20, and have your coverage overload in that direction. So once the ball has an opportunity to get fielded, you stunt in that direction, whether it's a slant, whether it's a follow stunt, something to that effect. And then it would be very difficult for the blockers on the kick return unit to try and stick with that, because now they have to fold behind their teammates to try and get an opportunity to actually make a block.
Fast enough to chase it down from behind.
Well, right, and then you're talking angles.
Right.
Can you actually get there to make that block at the proper angle before the coverage team is going to field it? So that's a part of what we saw Hightower tinkering around with a few things. You got Torrey Taylor's first snap in the National Football League in the preseason, is putting his little finger on the football out there so it can be kicked. There was no reason to do that last night necessarily, but all right, let's sort of test this out. But I think the way that kicks are covered within the confines of that 5 yard separation, what kind of almost like defensive snap style stunts can you run to say we're going to pin this unit back here inside the 20? I think we'll start to see some of that in the regular season.
All right, all the caveats about everything that are understood. Is this offense more normal, for lack of a better term? Is it more of one of where receivers actually go down the field, where running backs get the ball and go forward?
Let's hope so.
Okay.
I think a lot of that even conceptually comes down to the execution of the quarterback, the execution of the offensive line. But schematically, yes, we will see bodies that go forward.
That's good. Forward's good.
On offense, that is the preference, to actually move forward, preferably the people with the football move forward,
even
or move
better.
forward with an opportunity to grab the football from the sky when that chance is there. That's one of the things, even with Colin Johnson. The very first time he touched the football, he dropped it on an excellent pass from Brett Rippon. But I like the response from that point forward, though. But now, even with a guy like Colin Johnson, that's where you wonder, what are the limitations within that? Because if he's running over the middle, he's got a crossing route or a dig route, and there's bodies around him, does he have the concentration to make that grab? First opportunity he had, says no. But outside the numbers, using that 6'6", 225 and going up to get some contested grabs, that seems to be what he specializes in. But within this offense, whether it's off of play action or just off of some levels concepts, you will need the ability. And this is where Caleb Williams, it's, I guess, one of the underappreciated parts of, so many aspects of his game that are adequately appreciated, but he does have the ability to layer the football. He can turn the nose over in a very rapid manner. That's one of those things where, as a quarterback, when you're going to fit it behind the linebacker and in front of the safety, you need to be able to do that at a high level, and sometimes in a very rapid manner. Caleb can do that, and so to have a DJ Moore, Keenan Allen is exceptional in that regard. Cole Kmet has gotten better in that regard throughout his career, where when you have multiple defenders in front and behind you converging at the point of impact, and knowing that at the apex, of the ball, of the flight, that you still have to go up and make a physical contested grab. You have some Bears players who've now shown the ability to do that. Caleb Williams will need to be able to fit it in there and know that he's taking a risk. I heard you talking the other day about some of the interceptions in practice and sort of being okay with that. And I agree with that as a point, because he's got to continue to figure out in the NFL, where can he fit that in, and which playmaker can he most trust to try and fit that pass in, a very similar type of ball to the one that Brett Rippon threw to Colin Johnson on that first one that was incomplete.